This is another video of surgical instruments, and this is with the major set. This one is called the U.S. Army retractor. It's also called the Army Navy retractor. It is used for superficial wound exposure. It looks like a bench with the hole in the middle. It's the U.S. Army or Army Navy retractor for superficial wound exposure. This one is a Richardson Eastman retractor, and it's also for wound exposure for bigger wounds, for bigger tissues like the thighs and abdominal wound. That's the Richardson Eastman retractor. This one is called the Gallat retractor, which is French, and it's for superficial wound exposure as well. It also has a double end, but it looks so fancy, and that's the Gallat retractor. This one is the Diva retractor. It looks like a snake, and it's to hold back the abdominal or chest wall during abdominal or thoracic procedures. That's the Diva retractor. And this one is called the malleable retractor, also called the ribbon, and it's for wound retraction. It's a malleable retractor. It's just a straight retractor that you can bend. And we're going to kind of like a mechanical ones. This is a Weightliner retractor, the Dahl Weightliner retractor, and it's for superficial wound exposure. This one is the Sharp Weightliner retractor. It comes in different sizes, just like the Dahl retractor. And it's also for superficial wound exposure. This one's called the Gelpi perineal retractor. It's used for the perineal areas. It's also a superficial wound extractor. That's the Gelpi. And here we have the mixture. It's called the right angle. It's also called the Gemini. This is delicate jawed, and it's used for clamping tissue or grasping ligature around a curve. Example, a pedicle or a blood vessel when you're working in obscured areas. This is the mixture or the right angle. This is a Forster sponge forceps, also present in the gynecology set. It's also called the sponge stick or sponge holding forceps using a Raytech. It's grasping tissue and holding a Raytech sponge. This one is the Babcock. The nickname is a Babcock intestinal forceps, and it's used for grasping delicate tissue like the fallopian tubes, the bowel, and the vas deferens. This one is a Mayo Hager needle holder. It's also called the needle driver. It's for holding a large or heavy suture needles. The Mayo Hager needle holder. Next one, we have the Mayo scissors. This is a straight one, and it's also called the suture scissor. It's for cutting suture and also dressings. It's the Mayo scissor, a straight one. We also have a curved Mayo scissor, also for cutting heavy tissue or dissecting heavy tissue. That's a curved Mayo scissor. This one is called the Metzenbaum scissor. It's also called the Metz. It's for cutting heavy tissue or muscle and dissecting heavy tissue. So the Metzenbaum scissors or the Metz is for dissecting heavy tissue. This one is a tenotomy scissor, or also called Stevens tenotomy scissor. And this one is for dissecting fine tissues. And the Metz is for dissecting heavy tissues. This one is called the Allis, A-L-L-I-S. There's no nickname to this one, and this is used for grasping, lifting, and retracting organs or tissue that are being removed. This one is the Allis. This one is the Coker. It's also called the Ochsner, Rochester Ochsner, and it's used for grasping heavy tissue. Example, like holding the fascia. It has a rat tooth in the very end, and the ridges go all the way back. That's the Coker. You also have a curved Coker, which is this one. This one is the Coker curved, or the Ochsner or Rochester Ochsner. It's for grasping heavy tissue and holding the fascia. It has a teeth on the very end, and the ridges go all the way back. That's the curved Coker. Right here we have a Schnitt hemostat. It's also called the tonsil snap, or Snitch-Sawtell Adson tonsil. It's used for clamping tissue and holding tonsil sponge. That's the Schnitt or the tonsil snap. It's kind of long and very pointy tip. A tonsil snap. This one is the Cryo. It's kind of like a tonsil snap, but it's shorter. The ridges also go all the way back, all the way down. And it's also called the hemostat. That's the Cryo hemostatic clamp. It's for clamping blood vessels or tissue. And this is the Kelly. The Kelly is kind of like the Cryo. It's a Kelly hemostatic forceps. It's for clamping large blood vessels or tissue as well, but the ridges only goes halfway. Also comes in different sizes. This one is the curved Kelly. Alright, now we have the scalpel handle. This one is the number 3 scalpel handle, or the number 3 knife handle. It's used for holding a scalpel blade, the 10s, 11s, 12s, and 15 blades. A little bit bigger than that is the number 4 scalpel handle. This is the long version. It's the number 4 knife handle as well, and it's holding a large size scalpel blade. This is for cutting heavy tissues. The scalpel blades that size 20s, 21s, 22s, 23 blades. And here we have a number 3 also scalpel handle, but this is a long and curved scalpel handle. Also holds the 10s, 15s blades. Right here we have the suctions. First we have the pool suction. It comes with 2 pieces. It's for abdominal suction or large pools of body fluids. and it's also called the abdominal suction. This is the Yankauer. It comes also in two pieces. This is also called the tonsil suction. There's a disposable version of this one, and it's for suctioning fluid or blood and secretion on the oropharynx. This is the Yankauer. This one is the smaller version of the Yankauer, which is called the Andrews Pinchin suction, which is the adenoid suction. It's also used for suctioning fluid or blood. The Andrews Pinchin suction. Here's another forceps that's called the Russian forceps. The nickname is the Russians. It is for grasping tissue during debridement and closure, or grasping aortic aneurysm plaque. It looks like a crocodile mouth, has a circle in the middle, and that's the Russian forceps. Next we have the Adson tissue forceps. The Adson tissue forceps has a wider handle. It's also called the rat tooth forceps, and it's for grasping skin layer during wound closure. It has a teeth at the very end. That's the Adson tissue forceps. And then we have the dressing forceps, which is also called the smooth forceps. There's not a lot of ridges to it. It might have it. And it's for grasping tissue or applying dressing. Your regular, plain old, basic forceps. This is also a tissue forceps, but with tooth or teeth. It's called the toothed forceps or rat tooth pickups. It's for grasping tissues and wound closure. And that's the end.